that the new variant, the variant that was first identified in London and the southeast, may be associated with a higher degree of mortality.
The spread of coronavirus around the world. Over 600,000 lives lost to the pandemic. But researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, often cited as the world's best research university, examined 84 countries and concluded the numbers are likely much higher.
We found that the estimate of the true actual number of COVID-19 cases is approximately 12 times larger than the number of confirmed reported cases. And we found that the number of people who have died of COVID-19 is approximately 50% higher than the number of reported deaths.
To reach their conclusions, researchers used a variation of a standard model of epidemiology and over 4 months calibrated it with country-level data on testing, reported cases, deaths, and overall mortality, and various other data points. The model was able to estimate the percentage of the population of any given country already infected with COVID-19. At the top of the list, Ecuador, with 18% of its population already infected, followed by other Latin American countries, Peru, Chile, and Mexico. Then Iran and Qatar are the most infected per capita in the Middle East, followed by Spain, the US, the UK, and the Netherlands. In early March, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. MIT researchers concluded from their modeling that if all the countries in the world back then ramped up testing, there would be 200,000 fewer deaths today.
Once you lose control, this is a very serious problem. And it's still relevant because although we can't go back and change what happened before, we're now facing exactly the same choices with the new outbreak waves that are taking place in many countries around the world.
While the study conducted by the researchers is highly complex and very technical, their advice on how to help stop the spread of coronavirus is not. They say it simply comes down to social distancing and wearing a mask.
The past 10 months have been tough. It's been tense, sad, and heartbreaking. The pandemic has touched all of our lives, and we know that the pain won't stop just because it's the new year.
Tonight, we're seeing some of that COVID stress and anger inside an already stressful place, airplanes and airports. New video shows people causing a scene, appearing to refuse to wear a face mask. All new at 11, our Brianna Harper spoke to the person who shot this video and shares their message to travelers.
For months, Charlotte Douglas International Airport and all the airlines that fly in and out of here have required all passengers to wear a mask at all times. Well, one passenger just didn't agree with that rule, calling it tyranny. Sunday's flight from the Queen City to the nation's capital was going as planned when passenger Jonathan Asford decided to take a quick nap. But mid-flight, he says he was startled out of his sleep.
All I saw and what I woke up to and started recording was her screaming about how this is tyranny and how we have to stand up for this.
Other passengers tell me this all started when there was concern after this woman was spotted wearing her mask improperly below her nose during the flight. And when asked to fix it, she refused. This outburst soon followed.
If we don't stand up, it's only going to get worse.
And that's when an air marshal aboard the American Airlines flight stepped in to help intervene.
He calmed her down. He was the only person that was able to do that. Stewardesses and the flight attendants could not do anything. She was just going crazy.
A D.C. resident Asford said he's noticed defiant actions like this are becoming less and less of a surprise.
An influx of people flying into D.C. to have this, and they have this agenda of they're saving democracy, they're starting a revolution, they're doing all these, frankly, very ridiculous things, obviously.
No clearer evidence of just that as seen last week during the deadly Capitol riots.
I don't know where she was coming from. I don't know her story. However, this isn't uncommon, unfortunately, within the last 2 weeks or so.
And once the flight eventually landed, that passenger was quickly met by Washington Airport police.
And then when she got escorted off, the entire plane erupted into applause.
And American Airlines tells us that passenger involved in the outburst has been placed on their no-fly list pending further investigation.
Toronto police say they have laid 65 provincial and criminal charges over the first weekend of the stay-at-home order after attending several large gatherings across the city.
We want to stress and reiterate that we have enhanced patrols and enforcement throughout the city, and that our officers will disperse any type of large gatherings that we are called upon to investigate.
Some of those gatherings included 2 protests in downtown Toronto where more than 20 charges were laid, as well as an alleged illegal gaming house in the Yonge and Davisville area where 25 other people were charged.
Well, an amazing sight outside a Utah County gun store today as hundreds lined up to buy ammo. The line stretched around the building.
Hey, Dan, I spoke to a number of people who were in line today. Some of them told me that they came out because the ammo had been restocked. There were others, however, who told me they were a little more anxious that they had come out because of recent political events, the Georgia runoff, a soon-to-be transfer of power, and the violence that took place at the U.S. Capitol. Here at Gunny's in Orem.
It goes fast because there's it's very hard to get. There's like none out there.
There's a shortage on the most popular ammo. For Mark Greer, he drove from South Jordan to stand in the cold.
There was people down here lined up, 200 people before the store even opened.
Gun stores have been out of stock of AR-15 ammo for months.
Perfect storm for gun supply.
So when Gunny's announced a shipment, the masses came.
Are you looking to just get the 5 or the 200 limit?
Because they have seen a hoarding problem in the past, there was a limit as to what you could buy.
And then on this 223 or 556 that we got in the Winchester that everybody's here for today, we're allowing 200 rounds per customer.
Those in line expressed different reasons for showing up today.
Changes of the administration that's coming up. People are a little bit concerned about how that's going to affect them with their Second Amendment rights.
So that's why they're here, because they feel the need to literally try and fight back, or at least protect themselves.
Gunny's sales reps say they have seen some of their busiest days ever this year. That's right, and those who sell firearms here at Gunny's tell me that it is not usually busy like this in January. They also do mention that in years like 2008 when Obama was elected, and again in 2012, they did see a run on guns and ammo.
But first, it was something that happened today in Seattle which had authorities scrambling. They even brought out the bomb squad. Firefighters responded to a pickup truck fire right near the FBI offices in downtown Seattle. Then they called police. I understand it, the driver has been arrested, correct?
Yes, they do have one man in custody, 34 years old. He's expected to make his first court appearance on Monday. Now, Seattle Police Interim Chief Adrian Diaz says that the response they gave was because of some of the recent tensions that they're seeing nationally, as well as a bombing that happened in Nashville on Christmas. So they were not going to take any chances. Seattle police have a man in custody Saturday facing charges of making fake bomb threats.
But right now, Seattle, we believe, is safe. We believe that there is no actionable intelligence that says that there is a threat.
Here's what happened. Shortly after 1 p.m., Seattle Fire responded to a call of a vehicle on fire near 3rd and Spring. The fire was also near the FBI field office, and Interim Chief Adrian Diaz says that is when the suspect told first responders a shocking claim.
That he articulated that there was possibly a bomb inside the vehicle.
Bomb squad was called in and ultimately no bomb was found. But Interim Chief Diaz says the response was appropriate, given recent tensions nationally.
I have never seen it in the 24 years that I've been in the job to see the level of tension that it is and the divide in our country.
Authorities say there's no indication the suspect is part of any larger group or effort to attack federal buildings.
To be just an individual that had, set out this and made those threats.
The FBI adding there is no current threats to any of the federal buildings around here. Of course, there are those armed protests that have been rumored to be happening at all of the 50 state capitals, so authorities are not taking any of these instances lightly.
The number of COVID patients is definitely going up. It's heartbreaking. The patients this time are definitely sicker.
This is a real-life situation. This is serious.
We are seeing every day patients dying right in front of us.
I don't think that any of us realised just how challenging this wave was going to be.
When you have to tell somebody that you think this is the start of their lungs failing and that they're not going to get better, that is really, really heartbreaking.
We're doing everything to try and save them.
The worst time was 4 deaths in 2 hours.
It's atrocious, the worst any of us have ever seen.
12 days I've been here. My breath is still not coming back. It's a very dangerous disease.
The staff here have been really quite amazing.
They work long, long hours, but they just keep going. I don't know where they find their energy from.
24/7 care has just been out of this world, and we owe our NHS more than we can ever imagine.
If we don't do what we need to do, it's going to be here for a long time.
For those people who think this is not a serious illness,
They need to take a good look. This is as scary as it gets. My mum was one of the disbelievers, and she's on the next floor up from here.
So it's really terrible. I'm 38. I miss my family.
I really do understand that people are frustrated, and we've just got to keep going a little bit longer and follow the rules.
It's just really hurting people this time. It's very hard for everybody.
I saw so many people die here. It's heartbroken.
It's very emotional for me.
Please do as we're asked. Wash your hands, wear your masks, keep a safe distance apart, and please, please do not go out unless you have to. If we don't do these things, people will continue to die.
stay at home, please stay at home.
And hopefully we'll get through this together.
Joining me now, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Marc Garneau. Good morning, Minister.
Good morning, Rosemary. Serious way with the U.S. administration on how best to deal with land borders, because under normal circumstances, there can be hundreds of thousands of people crossing every day under normal circumstances.
Well, I'm glad you brought up quote-unquote air borders, because it does seem as though the United States is perhaps ready also to move on that front with international flights. We know that lots of Canadians continue to fly to the United States right now, even if it's not what we would maybe characterize as essential travel. Do you foresee that might change in the coming days?
Again, all options are on the table. We're very concerned about trying to minimize the importation of COVID-19 or the variants, which we're concerned about, into the country. That's why we put in place the policy of pre-testing before you come back to the country. The Prime Minister has said very, very clearly, and I'll echo it, if you have a trip planned and it's non-essential, cancel it.
Yeah.
The message can't be any clearer. Now, with respect to quarantine, we're also tightening up measures to make sure that people do respect their quarantine. The United States seems to be moving in that direction. That's a good thing.
Yes, yeah. I understand all of that, but if there are people right now who are in the U.S., is it possible that, I don't know, that you could no longer fly there going forward? I guess you'd be able to come home, but you wouldn't be able to fly there going forward. Wouldn't that help Canada, too, if the United States moved to do that?
All options are on the table, and I think in the United States as well, because President Biden has indicated very clearly that they are going to tackle COVID-19 extremely aggressively. And so we're ready for anything, and we will also be ready to do more to make sure that we wrestle this pandemic to the ground.
Just to go back to the Prime Minister's warnings this week about not traveling and to expect measures soon, should we expect them this week? Is it going to happen quite quickly?
Let me just say that it is in very active discussion. I'm not going to predict when or what, but I can tell you that we are very seized with it in our government.
Could you invoke the Emergencies Act to limit travel entirely?
We are looking at all potential actions to make sure that we can achieve our aims. The Emergencies Act is something you don't consider lightly, but we are first and foremost concerned about the health and safety of Canadians. And if we can do that in a way that we have the regulatory power to do it, we will do it. And we sense a huge amount of cooperation from the provinces, so that's a really good thing.
On this Friday night, no break from the news. We begin here with the alarming headline on the coronavirus today. Britain's Prime Minister said today that they believe that this UK variant that we're now seeing here in the US in at least 21 states tonight, that it's not only much more contagious, but it's also more deadly. Scientists are cautioning tonight that they still need to study this longer, but they do acknowledge already it does spread and easily. Tonight, the U.S. now reporting more than 413,000 American lives lost to the virus. New York State, for one, will run out of vaccine by the end of today. Governor Andrew Cuomo saying tonight that a new shipment is on the way, but it underscores the need to ramp up vaccine production. So many states say they need supply. The long lines, these images from a mega vaccination site at Six Flags Magic Mountain, that's in Southern California. Tonight, Johnson & Johnson saying it's getting closer to requesting emergency use authorization for its one-shot vaccine. That would be the third vaccine for the American people. Of course, Pfizer and Moderna already. President Biden on the pandemic again tonight saying, quote, there's nothing we can do to change the trajectory of this pandemic in the next several months, but that we have to fight it together. And tonight, with concerns over the vaccine supply, what Dr. Anthony Fauci is now saying about the timing of that second dose, the window of time, how much time can pass before you have to get that second shot.
Tonight, a new warning that the highly contagious UK variant, which is already threatening the U.S., could also be more deadly.
There is some evidence that the new variant, the variant that was first identified in London and the southeast, may be associated with a higher degree of mortality.
That UK variant now in 21 states, believed to be up to 50% more contagious, and British health officials citing early evidence suggesting it may be up to 30% deadlier. But they're still investigating, and vaccines appear to work against it.
Even if the virus ended up not being any more deadly, the fact that it is more contagious means it's going to end up infecting a lot more people. It's going to cause more hospitalizations and a lot more deaths.
With the dwindling vaccine supply, the CDC now telling people there is some flexibility when a second dose can't be given on time.
Sometimes the situation is stressed where it's very difficult to be exactly on time. So we're saying you could probably do it 6 weeks later, namely 2 additional weeks. Quite frankly, immunologically, I don't think that's going to make a big difference.
And tonight, the CDC also saying in exceptional situations where the same brand of vaccine isn't available for a second dose, it's better to switch brands than skip that second dose. Many already worried they won't be able to get one, like healthcare worker Nikema Taylor.
I'm feeling so much frustration and so much anxiety about this. I'm trying to go online and to set my appointment for the second vaccine, and there's nothing available.
In New York City, the mayor asking the federal government for permission to use second doses as first doses.
It's going faster and faster. There's just no supply to keep up with it.
The state burning through 97% of its first doses, expected to run out by the end of the day. More is on the way, but the shortage forcing 15 vaccination hubs to close for now.
Did get the COVID, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
In New Jersey, long lines before daybreak. And in California, drivers at Dodger Stadium waiting up to 5 hours.
There was a 3 to 4 hour wait, so we came back this morning.
At this pace of the rollout, the mayor says vaccinating all of LA County would take until June 2022.
These are just stunning images, and they say they waited 4 or 5 hours and then came back the next day. Let's get right back to Whit Johnson on this again tonight. And Whit, we already knew that the UK variant was more contagious, now potentially more deadly. But with it spreading so quickly, and we knew this, scientists in the last 24 hours are now doubling down on masks in this country, making sure that the mask you're wearing is effective, even suggesting an extra layer in some cases.
David, more and more health experts are now suggesting wearing 2 masks in high-risk situations like when you can't avoid a crowd or you're in close proximity with other people. The best mask is still the N95, but those are generally reserved for healthcare workers, so they are recommending alternatives that you can find on online retailers. The bottom line, David, the more layers, the better.
That's right, double up with the layers.
This has been a 2021 Wolfie production.